weekend too.
How are you?
Yeah.
I knew you
She's
wouldn't
just
forget.
like
Told me to be here.
I knew you would not forget. We good?
We gotta wait till Bill comes back.
Oh, yeah. Once trustee Brain's back. All right, everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. All right, I'd like to remind everybody before we get started that this meeting is being live streamed. It's available on our Facebook page as well as on the village website. So the mics are really super sensitive, so even if you turn like this and you talk to somebody, it could get picked up. We have mics here, we have mics at the podium over there, and obviously in the back of the room where the department heads are. So just keep that in mind, that ambient noise can get picked up on the microphones. All right, I would like to make a motion to open the combined August work session and business meeting of the village board. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. All right, first thing I'd like to do at the top, on Thursday evening, the Orange County Department of Health put out a public alert through the county executive's office. And what it essentially said was, it was an advisement by the CDC and the Orange County Department of Health in regards to masking indoors. The verbiage that was used, and I'll state it in its entirety, was the Orange County Department of Health and the CDC strongly urge and recommend, and I say that in quotation marks, all people, not just delineated by vaccinated or unvaccinated, wear masks while indoors. So I spoke to the county executive about this. He's on deployment right now in Colorado. I think he gets back today. I spoke on the phone with a number of town supervisors, city mayors, village mayors across the area here, most of them adjacent, contiguous to us, and some even further out, to try to get an assessment. And people had, just kind of like what we have in the country right now, very varied opinions. So in trying to get to a spot that made sense, I wish that the Orange County Department of Health had issued an edict or a mandate, which would have made it easy. If it came out of the governor's office or if it came from the county executive, it would have been easy to say, everybody, while you're inside, put your masks on. We've been operating under the policy now for several months that if you're vaccinated, and we don't check ID cards, we just ask people, you do not have to wear a mask on village property, whether you're at Village Hall, at our DPW buildings, or if you happen to be at one of our water treatment facility plants. After discussion with members of the board and after discussion with a number of elected officials, I've made a decision that effective tomorrow morning, for a 2-week period, the village is going to go back to a masks for employees while indoors. Visitors to Village Hall will also be asked to wear a mask. Now, we're trying to get police out of having to do enforcement work. So we're not going to call the police. If somebody comes in, if Mrs. McGillicuddy comes in and says, I paid my water bill last week, I'm just dropping this off, no one is going to call the cops on her or escort her out. We're going to have a box of masks that will be available for visitors in case that they don't have one. If an employee is in their office by themselves, I'm not going to require them to wear a mask. If they get up and go to the bathroom, use the hallways, meet with any member of the public, they will be masked. You're going to ask me, well, why are you making it effective tomorrow morning? Because I came to this decision this afternoon. I tried to get as much information as possible, was looking for something stronger out of the Department of Health, but I felt that the advisement and the encouragement was probably enough to make the safe call here. So effective tomorrow morning, which gave our staff here some time to change the signage. You'll notice that tomorrow there'll be signs that say, please wear a mask when coming into Village Hall. So just wanted to say that at the top. As you can tell, we kind of spread people out a little bit more for today, but effective tomorrow, if you come to Village Hall or if you work in Village Hall or in any of our facilities, you'll wear a mask for 2 weeks we will follow the facts on the ground. If something changes, we'll certainly adjust that very quickly. All right? Any trustee, anything to weigh in on that? Nope. Bill? Dave? Okay. And in regards to that, I know that the Cornwall Central School District put out an email from Superintendent Dade last week, and they still have not made a determination on whether or not children are going to wear masks in school. They've not. They're waiting to get some more guidance, and obviously, with things going on in Albany right now, you know, they haven't gotten any clear guidance, but they are going to go back to 5 days a week in-person learning, but they have not made a final call publicly, at least, on whether or not they're going to require the kids to wear masks. Okay, moving along to business on the agenda. The first thing that I'm going to do is open it up for public comment. If you have something to say or speak about to the board, you have 3 minutes. And I will ask you to step up to the podium here so that you can address the board and be on the microphone and be on the camera. And the only thing we ask you to do is to state your name clearly for the record and your residence, your place of residence. So who would like to go first? Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Buckley, the floor is yours.
We have some handouts.
Okay, you want to just hand them up here to me? Sure.
Do we need, I don't know how many other people we need to give them to.
Okay, if you. Can I just have to pass mine?
Just leave them here. I'll take care.
Yep.
Thank you.
You know what we'll do is we'll make them available at the end of the meeting. Is that okay? All right. Thank you. Thank you, girls.
Although some of what,
Some of what you're talking about is on here.
exactly.
Okay.
Well, let's each make sure we each have it.
Okay, is this on? Thank you.
It's all the
Okay, my name is Maureen Buckley. We moved into Cornwall on Hudson last July. We live at 47 Weeks Avenue. My husband, Joe, and I moved in, obviously, in the middle of the pandemic. Recently, my daughter-in-law, Melissa, and I were talking about whether Cornwall had a welcome wagon. And we hadn't heard of one, so I came to see the mayor and discussed it with him. And he was uncertain as to whether we had one or not. So I suggested a proposal, and a lot of those facts are on your sheets. So if you want to follow along, or I mean, you don't have to.
I can.
Our rationale for a welcome wagon is friendly, personal welcome to the village, helpful information, and an opportunity to meet neighbors and make local contacts. The rest are notes, and they're just ideas that we were all throwing out. We'd like to include a welcome message, which could be something like, "Welcome to the village of Cornwall, a town surrounded by water and mountains. We wish to welcome you with information about our village. We hope you will find this helpful, and we're delighted to have you in our community." So things that we would like to include in this welcome basket is a list of town officials, map of the village, websites, schools, events, parks, library, hospital, restaurants, cable company, Central Hudson, Cornwall Local, banks, liquor store, grocery store, Jones Farm, senior center in terms of recreation, Cornwall Recreation, garden club, hiking, scenic Hudson, nature centers, Cornwall Yacht Club, kayaking, Black Rock, Girl and Boy Scouts, Girls on the Run. The important thing would be our local businesses. And we're hoping that they would provide us with coupons, items, pamphlets, monetary donations from local businesses to help us with the baskets. And actually, we were thinking instead of baskets, which are not as useful, we were thinking of something like this, which is a backpack and just a sack. And it could have COH and the logo. Or something like this for your groceries. But those are just ideas rather than a basket. And the things that we still need would be a list of the village stores and the number of people moving into the village per year, and then how to connect with them. So those are things we would still have to work out. So we are looking for suggestions, ideas, comments, whatever you all think.
Well, personally, you and I have spoken about this before, Mrs. Buckley, but I think it's a wonderful idea. I definitely think that we need to integrate you with the Greater Cornwall Chamber of Commerce, because they'll have a good insight into all the different businesses and the services provided. I love the idea of doing it, of putting together basically an ad hoc type committee. I mean, things like this are what spurred the Garden Club or the, Riverfront Committee and things like that. I'm on board. Trustee Carnwright or Trustee Brain, anything to add?
No, I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a terrific idea. The Chamber of Commerce has in the past done this, and the mayor's suggestion is right on target. We can certainly put you in touch with the board of directors and the president there. And you'll find that they have, it's probably just a lack of somebody willing to take it on that has prevented it.
Okay.
I can't speak for them, but
Yeah. No,
they're definitely,
Melissa
Yeah.
and the children are willing to help and
Outstanding.
terrific.
would like
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, they'll be very happy to have somebody show up
Yep.
and raise their hand.
Okay.
Let's you and I talk later this week, and I'll put you in contact with
Okay.
the representative from there. And I think it's a great idea, and we'll start moving it forward.
Good.
All right?
I wish to say, we went on Tuesday night for the music and met a couple that just moved here. He works for West Point. And he said he's been all over the world. This is the nicest, friendliest community he has ever moved to. So let's just step it up one more with a welcome wagon.
Well, it's because of people like you and residing here, so we appreciate that. And I'll touch base with you this week, and we'll close that loop.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys, and thanks for bringing your team with you, too.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, who's next? Yes, ma'am, Mrs. Satterley.
I want to say I endorse that very much, because everybody who moves here comes to the library and asks for stuff, and this is what we tell them, all the places to go, and it's a really good source of information. And when I was growing up about 100 years ago,
Oh,
villages had welcome wagons. They did, a long time ago, but I don't know why it faded out. Things happen, but thank you for doing it, thank you. I'm sorry, I got a thing in my throat. The reason I came tonight was to ask the trustees if you would ask the buildings and grounds people to remove, there's a concrete bench in front of the bandstand. And it's been there a long time. The children, every Tuesday night at music, they run around and around and around the bandstand like crazy. They're really good runners. They're very athletic. They're going to be Olympic champions someday. But that little concrete bench is in the way. And I am so afraid somebody is going to fall and crack their head on that concrete. And if the buildings and grounds could just move it over by where the little cabinet, what did you call that?
The kiosk?
You know what I mean, where the notices are, or move it over by the stone wall where the tree is, and let people sit there on it if they want to, but get it out of the way of that bench. And I brought pictures if you want to see what I'm talking about.
I've got those pictures, and I'm gonna give it to the DPW supervisor so he'll be able to see it. I just want,
Because if everybody doesn't go to the music concerts, you don't really know what I'm talking about. Because they really run crazy, and it's just children being themselves, but I don't want them hurt. So if the bench could be just moved to a different spot, okay?
Sounds reasonable to me.
okay, Ms. Satterley, thank you. And I'll just follow up. Mrs. Satterley stopped in to talk to me about it, and I love meeting residents this way and trying to find solutions. So we did a little bit of research, and I've been in and out of Cornwall from beginning in the 60s, but I did not know the name of the person on the bench. I believe it was Bill Nielsen. Am I
okay.
correct? Bill Nielsen, and apparently he was a deacon at St. Thomas Church, and the family were very, very involved here in the community. I do not believe, and maybe somebody knows, if there's still any remaining family members that live in Cornwall.
I don't believe so.
I don't think there are. We certainly wouldn't want to do anything to break a family's heart, but if moving it makes sense, and Dave, maybe that's something you and I can talk about. I don't know if any of the trustees have any feelings on finding another place for it. It is right in the middle of the grassy area, obviously just off of Hudson Street. I see people sitting there at times, but then, during the bandstand concerts, which we have 4 months worth this year, the children run around there. I could see how it could be a hazard there. So, Dave, do you remember when that was put in? Before your
my
time?
time.
Yeah, so it had to be early 80s then, correct?
Yeah.
I would just, to my knowledge, and correct me, anybody, if I'm wrong, I don't know that any child has actually hurt themselves on that bench, and it's been there for quite some time, so. Understood, yes. I think but it trains them to be agile as well as fast. So,
Somebody trips somebody, they could trip somebody else.
understood.
We'll take it under advisement, and we will definitely talk about it and see if we can't find some type of reasonable accommodation, all right? But we'll definitely take it under advisement. Thank you, Mrs. Satterley, and thank you for looking out. Dave, anything else on that, or no?
No, I'm doing some mental history on it.
Okay,
I think it's a different Bill Nielsen.
okay.
Oh, no, I know that. I'm trying to think about, there's two Bill Nielsens. There's more than one. I do. That was Bill Nielsen from the bank or the deacon?
It was,
Deacon, I think.
he worked in Kingston, if I remember correctly. His wife was in a local bank. I remember.
Okay. All right,
So
anybody
it's
else?
not the
I'm
deacon
sorry.
though, Barbara.
I don't think.
No, it's not.
Definitely not the deacon.
No. it's
Okay,
not. The deacon only died a few years ago, by the way.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
this gentleman, was killed in an automobile accident.
That's right.
On his way to work in Kingston.
That's right. And he was
Dorothy
the,
Nielsen was his wife.
right, and he was the first manager of Walden Savings Bank in Cornwall.
All right, well, we'll do a little bit more research to see if we can figure out which Nielsen it is that relates to the bench. All right, anybody else want to speak? Mrs. Gaza, and then I get you, Mr. Michelle.
We have a long-standing problem here in the village that the parking situation at Donahue Memorial Park. And when you go down there as a resident, you kind of feel like a second-class citizen because you're competing for parking with all of the apps. And as you take a look, and you don't see that many permits, but there's a lot of people there. And the only conclusion you can come to is that everybody who doesn't have a permit is an app person. So, and they're obviously, guests in the community who haven't, or they're residents who haven't gotten permits, So I always feel like, I'm competing with these people and I'm a resident. So I think that we need to try to do something better with this. And with the pandemic, the park looked like a crime scene because we had parking everywhere and we had yellow tape everywhere. And it was like, what are we doing here? And so, we have about 78 or 75 parking spots down there. And a couple of weeks ago, our new officer, Officer
DeWitco. DeWitco.
was on patrol, and I had a conversation with him about the app parking and what's going on at the waterfront. So he kind of showed me the program, and I said to him, I kind of have a thought, and I don't know if it would help, But let me just, share it with you. I said to him, if we took an area and like 15 parking spots, and we numbered those parking spots 1 through 15, and we put a sign up that said, "At parking 1 through 15 only." When the program comes up on his, on his computer screen, it shows him all of the license plates for the app parkers. And he has to go everywhere in the park looking for these people. I said to him, if they were all in a designated area, he can look right away and see, I've got 5 license plates on my screen, but I've got 7 people here, and he could right away tell, number 3 is not participating in the program. They're just coming to park. And maybe number 7. So he knows right away what he's got. And the rest of the park could be permit parking. And he really thought that that would be a manageable situation. He wouldn't be driving through every parking area that we have, looking for these, 5 app people, because they would be there. And he thought it was an idea that at least would get some kind of a system going that that would be enforceable and that the police department could work with.
Chief, I'm sorry, Chief, is that something, when the officers go down there and check, as they frequently do, is that something that would make it easier for them to track where the app folks are parking and which cars are down there illegally or not?
I mean, I guess it would definitely make it easier, because like Ms. Costa said, I mean, we have to go to the entire length of the parking lot and run all the plates to see if that vehicle, that person actually, purchased the parking through the app or not,
Do you have any idea? So we have 78 parking spots, 3 handicap spots, and 8 boat trailer spots. Out of that 78 plus 3, so the 81, do you know what the general percentage of which people have permits and which people are using the app? Do you have any kind of idea on what that breakdown would be on an average Saturday or Sunday? No? Okay. Maybe we could do is we'll take a look at that and see maybe the next time, next weekend on a shift, like have an officer just kind of track that and give us some numbers so we'd have an idea. Because I couldn't tell you if it's 50-50 or if it's 90-10. So before we could set aside any kind of parking spaces, we kind of need to know what the breakdown
Well,
is.
I certainly can tell you that as I talk to people, some people just say to me, get rid of that app. I don't want to compete with the app people. Let them go someplace else. And so why do we have, all these people coming in and then we have no place to park? And that's a legitimate argument. And then there's other people who just, I don't even bother going down there because there's never any place to park. Yeah. And we've heard that there's going to be a new trail in the old Clark Street. That's, once that hits the website, that's going to bring additional people into the community. And where are they going to park? Are they going to park up, by the Triangle Park, or, where are they going to park?
I promise you, this is something that we're looking at, and it's finding that balance. We do have a lot of visitors, but we certainly don't want to shut out our seniors, and that's the people that we have to figure out a way to make sure there's available parking.
Residents should be able to enjoy the park, and they shouldn't be competing with outsiders. There should be some kind of system that serves us, and it doesn't. I mean, I don't want to close the door on. Like I say, I don't. When somebody said to me, "Let's get rid of the app," I was like,
Yep. All right.
I'm not suggesting that, but I am suggesting that we
All
do
right.
something.
I will, we've got a work session coming out. We'll talk about it with the
Okay.
board. See.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Mrs. Gazda. Anybody else, public comment?
Michelle,
Mr. Michelle? And then I'll get you, Miss Barron. Oh, I won't forget you.
Gary Michelle, 11 Boulevard. This is in regards to Mrs. Buckley. She left, but I'm not sure if anyone else received this, but I received a thing in my mail that says there's an app called Nextdoor for local news and everything. I'm not sure if that's legitimate or not. I'm trying to. Is it? Okay. So I thought it would be like a good idea. Unfortunately, she left for her to partner up. I'm being the guinea pig. Have you downloaded it?
I'm on it.
Okay, so I'm trying to download it now to see how it works. Maybe the next meeting I'll get together with her and I think that's a phenomenal idea. When I moved here 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't know anything. You know, I didn't even know we were a champion. You know, so so I think that's a phenomenal
You
idea.
have to
So
have a code.
yes,
One of
I
your
just did it
neighbors
just
that'll
now.
bring you to the
Yeah, I'm not sure if she knows about it. I think that'd be a good idea for them to partner up.
Sure, send me that link and I'll
got
make
it.
sure she gets it.
That's all I had.
The links
Thank you, Mr.
expire.
Mich- Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Michelle.
The links expire.
Yeah, I'm just.
Mrs. Barron, you're up.
This is as promised from Mr. Menexi.
Okay, yep. This is a letter in support of what your comments are gonna be.
Yep.
Okay?
Hi, I'm Missy Barrian. I live at 15 River Avenue. My driveway is located on Churchill. There are 3 driveways, including mine, which have parking adjacent. The street is very narrow. I invited the mayor to come down. He agrees with us. We would just like no parking behind those 3 driveways. Between the municipal being redone, all the boaters that are there, the bars, now they're opening a wine bar. We don't want people to not come, but my one neighbor who's away and couldn't be here, she has 3 cars she has to put on that street. And there's just no room for us to back in and out of it. So we're just asking for consideration, no parking, those 3 driveways, so we can get in and out. Thank you.
Thank you. So the DPW superintendent came with me to go take a look at the situation. And I think we were in agreement, and I would invite any board member. I didn't even know how to get onto Churchill Street. I didn't even realize it existed off of Spruce Street, but I found it and found out it was a one-way. But it's
one way.
It is a one-way. It is absolutely a hazard for the houses that have their frontage on River and have detached garages or their garages facing back on
I'm the
Churchill.
only one with a house in the front.
You're the only one that does that, that has that detached house and your driveways, your front of your house is on
Well,
River.
Robbie has one, but he
Yes,
doesn't park
okay.
back there.
So anyway, for this to happen, Counselor, for this to happen, to put no parking signs, and Dave, you had suggested how many yards more or less and how many signs to cover that,
When we looked at it, probably 150 feet, something like that,
okay?
if I'm not mistaken. But we gotta have a public hearing.
Put your,
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, approximately 150 feet, and obviously we'd have to have a public hearing on it to introduce it into a local law.
okay, does any trustee have any, I mean, obviously, you probably want to take a look at it, but if you have any
I
input on
know
that?
it well.
Okay, all right, any thoughts, Dave?
No.
Okay. I mean, I can see the safety issues with people parking on that side and people trying to get out of their driveways, and it's a beyond tight fit, so we'll have to have a public hearing on this and then, pass a law for that, correct, Joe?
Correct.
Okay,
As we usually do, Dave can send an email with the name of the street, the direction, northeast, whatever it is, how many feet from X to Y,
okay.
and we can introduce the law to amend the code.
Okay, I'll ask the trustees then if they get an opportunity before September 13th, which is the next board work session, to just take a peek on that. It's on Churchill Street, between Spruce and what is that, Idlewild? Between Spruce and Idlewild. Okay, all right. Okay, any other public comment? Then I am going to make, you'll have another opportunity at the end if you'd like, but I'm gonna make a motion to close public comment. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving along. I'd like to make a motion to accept the July 26, 2021 business meeting minutes. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, moving on to the treasurer's report. The open utility balances report for the end of July read as follows. Village water, sewer, garbage, and penalties, $205,476.59. Town water and penalties, $502,892.40. I'd like to make a motion to approve the August 2021 warrant number 8 and authorize payment, which includes prepaids, totaling $197,999.90. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and I'll introduce the rest according to the text. All right, moving ahead to board department reports, the department reports. Trustee Conrad, I'm going to ask you to do the building department.
Village of Cornwall and Hudson Building Department report for July 2021. Building departments building permits issued 10, certificate of occupancy compliance 9, on-site inspections 50, violations 0, stop work orders 0, municipal searches 2, solar panels 0, fire inspections 4. Code enforcement officer met with ISO and completed survey. A report package will be generated soon. William Horton, Code Enforcement Department.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Fire department, trustee Brain, pitch hitting.
Good evening. Reading the Cornwall and Hudson Fire Department report submitted by Michael P. Traynor Sr. There were 10 automatic alarm events, taking up 30.25 staff hours. There were 6 medical events, totaling 11.25 staff hours. 1 river rescue, totaling 3 hours. Hazardous condition, 1, which took 3 hours. A motor vehicle accident, just 1, that took 5 staff hours. 2 meetings for a total of 43.75 staff hours. 7 drills for a total of 51 staff hours. 3 work details at 112 staff hours. The parade in July, we're far from it, but it is the July report. 1 parade at 27.5 staff hours, and the Storm King Engine Company Fair was 655 staff hours. So a total of 37 events and a total of 941.75 volunteer hours submitted by Michael P. Traynor Sr.
Thank you, Bill. Roll right into the police department report.
Yeah. All right. The July monthly police report for the 1st through the 31st, there were 393 total calls for service. There were no felony crimes reported. There were 3 petite larceny misdemeanor violations, 1 harassment or aggravated harassment report. There were no arrests. In terms of vehicle and traffic incidents, there were 0 personal injury accidents, 4 property damage accidents, 14 summonses issued, 9 warnings issued, 10 parking summons issued, 8 traffic enforcement posts, and 2 speed or radar sign postings. In non-criminal activity, the police department responded to 8 fire response calls, 1 domestic incident, 9 alarm response calls, 8 noise complaints, 2 suspicious vehicle calls, 5 animal complaints, 2 disorderly adult calls, and 3 disorderly juvenile calls. And then they assisted other agencies. They assisted the Town of Cornwall PD 9 times, the EMS 13 times, and performed 3 welfare checks, and assisted 3 citizens. And those are the numbers. In addition, during the month of July, Cornwall and Hudson PD participated in Orange County Stop DWI traffic grant funding enforcement. Also during the month, the police department assisted with both traffic and security for the Storm King Engine Company Fair, I should say. During the month of July, the department applied for the following grants: the Walmart Foundation Community Grant for future considerations and funding for police equipment, the Spirit of Blue Police Grant Program for future consideration and funding for police equipment, the Firehouse Subs Grant, 1 automatic external defibrillator AED unit. So hopefully we'll get that grant. And then grant, in addition with the PERMA Bulletproof Outer Carrier Vest Grant Program for the purchase of 2 bulletproof vests outer carriers. And then also applied for Bureau of Justice assistance, a micro grant program for smaller police agencies toward the purchase of body-worn cameras, which this board already approved. So that would be a good, I believe, recompense or absorb that cost. In addition, we, the village board, passed funding for implicit bias training, which is to take place in November. And the planning process has begun for a Coffee with a Cop event in October. And unless Chief Dixon, who has submitted this report, has anything to add or correct me on, that's the report.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Dave, Department of Public Works.
Village of Cornwall and Hudson Department of Public Works, July 2021. Trash collected for the month, 116.50 tons. Recycling collected for the month, 31.25 tons. Yard waste collected, 100 yards. Repairs and maintenance of village-owned vehicles and equipment continues. Blacktop patching, mowing and trimming of village-owned properties, sweeping of streets, milling of intersections and driveways, and preparation for paving. Fabricated risers for storm drains for paving. Repaired storm drains in areas to be paved. Replaced damaged sections of guardrail on Dock Hill and replace and clean signs damaged with graffiti. Notes, DPW employees assisted Storm King Engine Company with setup of their annual fair. The municipal parking lot behind the bandstand will be closed the week of August 16th through 20th this week, so we can make repairs and pave the lot. Dave Halverson, Superintendent of Public Works.
I just want to say Dave's guys did a great job with the paving on the Maple Avenue extension, Maple Avenue, Homeland, Paula, Jean, Holtz Lane. Did I miss anything, Dave? Carroll Terrace. So excellent job, your guys. All right, Water Department, Trustee Brain.
This is the July 2021 monthly report from the Village Water Department. Monthly production was, there's 2 commas here, but I'm seeing it as 23,583,000 gallons, and the daily average was 761,000 gallons. In terms of sampling, the department collected 39 samples in accordance with approved water quality monitoring plan. In terms of treatment, the water treatment operations were routine for the month. Transmission and distribution, 71 utility markouts were completed. There was a water main leak repaired at 215 Hudson Street. There was a water valve repaired at Homeland Avenue and Pine Street. There was a service line leak repaired at 2 and 4 Wilson Road. Curb boxes were repaired at 16 Vinebrook Avenue and 28 Highland at a fire hydrant. Hydrant painting continued, and there were some blacktop leak sites that were addressed. Meters, they read commercial water meters this past month and town residential water meters. 11 final water meter readings were completed. 17 residential water meters were replaced. 5 meter transmitters were replaced, and 5 miscellaneous meter repairs were completed. Routine mowing of properties took place during the period. And Connor Watts and Anthony Galliano have successfully completed the Grade D Water Operators Training course, and the staff completed the PESH core training on the following topics: bloodborne pathogens, workplace violence prevention, sexual harassment, and hazardous communication / right to know. And this report was respectfully submitted by Michael P. Traynor, Senior Water Superintendent.
Anything missed on there, Mike, or good? All right, thank you, Bill. All right, moving along to resolutions. Draft local law to establish regulations for the short-term rental of residential dwellings. Boy, I bet folks wish that we would get this done, but we are trying to get this right. A public hearing was held on July 26, which was our combined work session business meeting last month, on the revised draft local law to establish regulations for the short-term rental of residential dwellings. No public comments were received. The hearing was subsequently closed. I'm also going to report that minor revisions were made to the draft law, input from trustees, in order to clarify on-street parking and establish a 2-year permit term. Counselor, anything I'm missing there? Anything you want to add some color commentary to?
Not really. That's exactly, there were minor amendments to the laws you just described. They're not substantial. No further public hearing is required. At this point, the clerk can just simply file a copy of the action, meaning the local law and the EAF, with the Orange County Department of Planning. We'll wait to get the comments from the Department of Planning. If we get them back, before the next meeting, the board would be in a position to adopt the law, but we do have to wait to get those comments back from the county.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything, Dave, Bill? All right. Moving along. Information systems and social media policy. All right, I'm going to throw the village clerk a curve here because we are going to table that. We met in attorney-client prior to this meeting, and we, again, want to get this right. The village has not had a social media policy since it was incorporated in 1884. Obviously, we didn't need one back then, but we do need one now, as per our insurance carrier. And there were some questions. I don't know if we want to discuss or just say that we're going to discuss this further at the September 13th village work session. I missed anything on that? No. All right, so we're going to table that. We're not going to pass a resolution on that tonight. Okay, regrettably, the next item of business is the code enforcement officer resignation. I'm going to make a motion to accept the resignation of Code Enforcement Officer William Horton, effective August 17th, 2021, with regret. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. And I'm also going to make a motion authorizing the village clerk to advertise for a part-time code enforcement officer. In the village, it's usually working 2 days a week for 20 hours a week, a total of 80 hours a month. For that advertisement being posted, may I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We regret that we're losing Mr. Horton. However, upon the recommendation of, do I need to read this? Okay, so this is, okay, got it. Upon the recommendation of Code Enforcement Officer Horton, I'm going to make a motion to appoint Benjamin Maggio, as the interim Code Enforcement Officer effective August 19th, 2021, at the rate of pay of $30.75 per hour, not to exceed 20 hours per week, until December 31st, 2021. So before I read that resolution, we asked Benny if he would come back in the interim while we post for a new code enforcement officer, and he was gracious enough to say that he'd be able to give us the time until the end of December. Benny was here for 10 years, I believe. I think he was hired in the Joe Gross administration, so he'd been here a long time. So anyway, in the interim, I'm going to make a motion to, actually, I'm just going to read the resolution of the village board. Whereas the Village of Cornwall and Hudson, the village, currently has a vacancy for the position of building inspector, and whereas former building inspector Ben Maggio has expressed interest in the position, and whereas the village board has determined that Mr. Maggio is well qualified for the position, now therefore be it hereby resolved that the village board hereby appoints Ben Maggio as building inspector for the Village of Cornwall and Hudson, and be it further resolved, Mr. Maggio shall be compensated at a rate of $30.75 per hour for not more than 20 hours per week, and be it further resolved, this appointment shall take effect on August 19th, 2021. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I want to say that I stand corrected. He was hired under Brendan Coyne.
Oh, okay, all right, noted for the record. All right, the next item, okay, the next item as far as resolutions is it, no, we don't need a resolution on that, this is FMLA, correct?
Well, you're going to.
Yes.
You're going to table it.
Yes.
Executive session.
Right. So, and the board is going to entertain allowing an employee to take advantage of the Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA, but because this is regarding a personnel issue, we will discuss that in executive session. Anything else you need to say there, Joe? No, sir. Okay. Next item, Village Hall copier lease and Water Department wide format scanner. The 5-year lease agreement with Konica Minolta for the Village Hall copier fax scanner has expired. Village Clerk Mahoney and Water Superintendent Trainer met with representatives from Konica Minolta to discuss the village's needs going forward. Upon the recommendation of Clerk Mahoney, I'm going to make a motion authorizing a 5-year lease agreement with Konica Minolta for a BizHub C450i copier printer scanner at a total cost of $1,001.07 quarterly. Now, before I ask for a second, I'm also going to note that the previous quarterly lease payment was closer to $1,300. So we'll be saving approximately $300 per quarter on that. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Upon the recommendation of Water Superintendent Trainer, I'm going to make a motion authorizing a 5-year lease with Konica Minolta with a $1 buyout at the lease end for a wide format HP copier scanner at a quarterly cost of $775.08. Now, Mike, I know this machine is needed for copying large maps, right? Is any, so we need that in the water department, obviously, correct?
Yeah, for all the different projects, the water main stuff, we scan it, make PDFs,
Okay.
electronic.
All right, may I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item, the Riley Road Property Rental Agreement. Upon the recommendation of Water Superintendent Trainer, I'm going to ask Trustee Carnwright to make this motion, correct? Don't we want to have him do this, since I've got to be the one to execute the lease agreement?
Can the mayor ask,
I think
introduce
it's
that?
just a matter of form. It's not really substantive.
Okay, so go ahead.
So go ahead.
Yeah.
So just take it from here?
Yes.
All right, resolution of the Village Board of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the J. D'Annunzio Group Incorporated for the use of village property. Whereas the construction firm J. D'Annunzio Group Incorporated, hereafter referred to as D'Annunzio, is performing work unrelated to the village along Route 32. And whereas D'Annunzio wishes to utilize village-owned property, hereafter referred to as the property, located on Riley Road in the town of New Windsor for the storage of equipment and materials. Whereas D'Annunzio's use of the property will be temporary and is expected to last for approximately 1 year. Whereas the village's use of the property will not be impacted, and D'Annunzio will restore the property to its pre-existing condition. Now therefore be it hereby resolved that the village board hereby authorizes the mayor to enter into an agreement with D'Annunzio for the use of property, subject to the review of the attorney for the village. Before I take a vote, Mike, anything else to add on that? Anything necessary? Okay. All right, may I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, and I just want to clarify the anticipated payment amount for that. Do we have that figure?
I'd rather not, that's still part of the negotiations.
Okay. All right, so we're authorizing the mayor to enter that agreement. You know.
But we haven't gotten the agreement yet, obviously.
Yeah.
It's going to be subject to the dollar amount and additional services that meet our requirements. Correct?
Correct.
Mike, when do you think that you will have that, those numbers worked out and that arrangement worked out?
I'm hoping within a couple of weeks. I've called them twice and I haven't gotten a phone call back, but I do know they're starting their work, so they're gonna need that space.
Obviously, okay, and obviously before I would sign that, I would make sure that the board was read into what the terms of the agreement are. Is that something that we could have available and ready by September 13th?
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
Is that good enough, Bill?
That works. If
Okay.
we amend the motion to include the amount being included in the agreement before it's passed, before it's entered into.
Yeah, of course.
I don't have a problem with that. Okay, Dave, anything to add?
It's fine.
Okay, so where would I do an amendment on there? Would I just do, and whereas the terms of the agreement will be provided to the village board prior to the execution of the agreement by the mayor?
That's it.
I should be a lawyer. All right.
Good night, everyone.
We're done here. All right, so may I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on. Okay, next item of business. Okay, this is bad news and good news. So the bad news is, I'm gonna make a motion to accept the resignation of Planning Board member Ms. Wynn Klosky effective August 31st, 2021 with regret. The motion, I'm sorry, may I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I met with Ms. Klosky, and she had been on the board for almost a full 5-year term and had been a mainstay on the board, and really hate to see her go. And she just felt it was the time was right to go ahead and step away and do some other things. But with that vacancy, I'd like to announce the board's appointment, or soon to announce the board's appointment of Mr. Gary Michelle. So I'm going to make an appointment, I'm going to make a motion appointing Gary Michelle to the Village of Cornwall and Hudson Planning Board effective September 1st of 2021 to fill the term of Wynn Klosky, which is due to expire on April 4th of 2022. So that's next April. Subject to Mr. Michelle being sworn in within 30 days of his appointment. He'll come see the village clerk here at Village Hall, and that can be done very expeditiously. Then, Mr. Michelle, I would assume, would be reappointed for a full 5-year term at next year's reorganization meeting, which will be held in April of 2022. All right, may I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome to the planning board, Mr. Michelle. Thank you for your
stepping
service
up.
to the village. I'm sure the pay and benefits were just what you expected, right? All right, next item is going to be, okay, so I'm not gonna mention anything on this. Should I just say we're putting this over? Okay, got it. All right, the next item of business, hard to believe, but we have not actually ratified our official village seal. So we are going to do that tonight. So if you haven't seen the village seal, it is on the front of Village Hall now. It depicts the gazebo down at the riverfront. It's a beautiful painting. It was actually created, I guess, by Officer Mike Lugg, who was a police officer for many years and the first DARE officer, I think, that we had in the village. Mike unfortunately passed away from cancer a few years ago, but his seal, or the depiction, has kind of lived on. So we're going to formally adopt that. We made a couple of small tweaks to it to make sure that it was official. So the date of the village's establishment and incorporation of 1884 is actually at the bottom in white now. And on top of the gazebo, just to make sure our photo was accurate, there's actually a weather vane that was missing from the logo, and that will be installed and be part of our official logo. And we will fix this one here and the one on the front of the building. So that is there. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to, I'm sorry, you've got it right here in front of me. All right, the resolution is as follows. Whereas the Village of Cornwall and Hudson, the village, has created a village seal to represent the village, and whereas the village board has determined that the village seal should formally be adopted, now therefore be it hereby resolved that the village board hereby adopts the village seal, a copy of which is attached hereto as the official seal of the Village of Cornwall on Hudson.
So moved.
All right, so may I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Okay, moving on. Are we already down to other business? Okay. Counselor, you ready for this next one? Okay, other business, the opt-out of permitting retail dispensaries and on-site consumption establishments for the New York State Cannabis Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act. Okay, I'm going to report here that a public hearing to opt out of allowing cannabis dispensaries and/or on-site cannabis consumption establishments in the Village of Cornwall and Hudson will be scheduled for either October or November. And Joe, actually, I think you want to give us the scheduling on that. We actually want to introduce the law now in September, correct?
Yeah, we're backing into it, so to speak. The state legislation is subject to a permissive referendum. And the law must be adopted no later than December 31st of this year. So you don't want to adopt the law too early, because then if there were a permissive referendum, a petition were filed, then the board or the village could be in a position of holding a special election and then only shortly, a few months later, holding its next general election. So what we're doing is we've drafted the local law. It's a very simple, straightforward one. It's based upon a format that was issued by New York Conference of Mayors. So the law has been out to the board for distribution. If anybody has any questions or comments, please let me know. Next month, we anticipate just introducing the law for a public hearing in October. That will give the board October, November, and part of December to hear from the public, get any other comments that may be relevant. And it'll give you some time in case something happens, probably unexpected, but if something happens, it gives the board flexibility so that you'll be in a position to adopt the law before December 31st. And if there is a referendum, then that would be on the March election. Just a way to try to save money for the village and make sure we don't have to have two elections.
Makes sense.
Thank you. And just catching everybody up, obviously the MRTA allows the possession of and the use of cannabis, particular limits in amounts, of course. It allows for cultivation with permits, of course. And the two items that the board is seeking to opt out of are the on-site consumption facilities and the distribution facilities, with the opportunity that as soon as we opt out, we can also immediately opt back in. But if we do not opt out by December 31st, we will hereafter never be allowed to opt out. So the decision of this board is to move towards restricting on-site consumption facilities and dispensaries. Okay, moving on, next item, police body-worn cameras. So, this has been one of my signature interests and items on the agenda. I appreciate all the work that Chief Dixon has done in getting us a contract and finding the right vendor. Chief, we're still trying to work that out, get them in our possession. Yep, and it should be soon.
Should be soon, yeah. I sent out a memo actually to
New Windsor.
New Windsor IT, as far as to get a date and time when they'll be actually doing the install. Just to work with both me and Officer Pena, so we'll be present, so we can get the actual initial training on it.
Okay, excellent. And the chief put together essentially a general order, because obviously before we outfit our officers with body-worn cameras, we want to make sure we establish the rules of the road, how they're to be applied, how they're to be employed, what the rules are as far as turning them on, turning them off, how long we will store the data, all those kind of things. And those are contained in the general order. I've had a number of conversations with the attorney for the village. We're going to make some tweaks on it, nothing substantive, but there are some things that we would like to take further look at, which is why the whole timing of this is okay. We will put this on the work session agenda to kind of hammer out, any disagreements the board may have as far as time of storage or how the cameras are applied or things like that. So I'm going to table that until September 13th. Maple Avenue property, everyone's aware that there's a piece of water department property at the end of Maple Avenue. It's a municipal building that for a long time used to house our water department. We are exploring the possibility of potentially selling that and obviously taking the revenues from that and reinvesting it back into our infrastructure and into our water department. I asked the village clerk to find a appraisal service, which she did, and they are still working through. They came out, I think, Mike, when was that? About a month ago, 3 weeks ago?
I think only about a week and a half ago.
Was it that recent? 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, we have not gotten the appraisal back just yet, so that is still an ongoing ongoing thing. We're expecting a narrative report to be issued back to us in 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, Donahue Farm Steering Committee, the good stuff. I am going to turn this over to Trustee Brain, who has really taken the bull by the horns on this one and spearheaded it, and I'd like him to give a brief synopsis of the first meeting and tell the board what the committee is looking to do going forward. Sir?
Let's see. We convened the steering committee, which was appointed in June. We convened on July 27th in this room, and we did a round-robin style set of introductions. We reviewed what the goals of the committee are, and just to state that very cleanly, it's to provide a proposed plan for the conservation, development, and use of Donahue Farm to the village board. Probably sometime early to mid next year would be the period where we would hope that we would have a finalized plan to present to the board. I'm, as village board liaison, I'm not a voting member. We have 9 members on the committee. We have a historical subcommittee that is made up of 4 team members. And we have 2 advisory members, Brendan Coyne and Patricia Larkin. And we, in addition to introductions, we kind of lined up some of the members of the committee around specific work streams related to the conservation, development, and usage of Donahue Farm. And we also planned for our next meeting, which will be Tuesday, August 24th in this room at 6 o'clock. And the looks as though almost every member has no conflicts on the 4th Tuesday of each month. So that's probably going to be our meeting date going forward. People have begun taking on their work streams. Some of the stuff that I've done was to create a document repository in a Google Drive for the members to access so we can keep track of tasks and collect documents as we research different proposed initiatives, et cetera. One of the things that we agreed to do was Bill Thompson, who, by the way, raised his hand to be secretary in our first meeting. He organized a site visit for 4 members of the committee, some of the historical committee, and then we had a couple of specialists come on with us to go through the property and understand the different habitats that are there, what the different condition of all the different buildings are. And we had that this past Saturday for 2 hours in the afternoon. And we're going to do a second one to get the rest of the committee members there as well. We do not have, at our convening meeting, in our inaugural meeting, we did not elect a chair. The committee was, I think because of conflicts and bandwidth, people were a little hesitant to take on the mantle of chair. So we voted to appoint a vice chair to sort of make clear that the leadership would be sharing the load of calling meetings and arranging, working with the secretary and doing the minutes and agendas and all of those things. And people were agreeable to that, so we will be appointing a chair and a vice chair at our next meeting on the 24th. And there's been a lot of conversation apparently happening between committee members to figure out who that's going to be, and they're going to come to it with people who want to do it. So the site visit was great. It was really illuminating a lot of information. It actually spawned committee members coming up with new ideas for different potential uses and elements of the site as well. Signage, we've approved some signage to indicate that the building envelope area is off limits to the public. And the DPW under Dave Halverson is going to execute and post those signs.
Dave, I'm sorry, Bill.
Yeah.
Dave, do we have a date when we'll have those, the 2 signs down there?
I had sent it to you, you didn't send it back.
Oh,
I'll order them tomorrow.
okay.
It's a couple days turnaround.
I clearly missed it because I was looking for it and didn't see it, so, all right.
I sent you the revised draft with the logo and your verbiage.
Logo and the verbiage on there?
Yes.
Okay.
All caps, yeah. So, and that's just to, ensure that nobody goes into these decrepit old buildings and gets a cut that requires a tetanus shot or, anything else. Falls through the floor, or has a roof collapse on them. I can't read my own writing because my eyes. Yeah, and that's basically it. We're meeting again on the 24th. We've started at the next meeting, people are going to bring forward all of the ideas that they've come up with for how the property might be used. We're going to tabulate those. I've created a matrix that people can enter all the different information about, for instance, if somebody thinks that it should be historical museum, then that goes in as a row in our table, and we're going to be bringing in all of the ideas that were already submitted, as well as other ones that come in from the public over the course of our research and surveying of the public and so on. So it's moving along. It's going to be a disciplined process with, I think, a really clean deliverable at the end of it. The village board won't be surprised because we'll continue to deliver monthly updates like this with more detail as we get more detail. So, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And I really think this is going to kind of be the template. We're looking at, some grants from New York State in regards to local waterfront revitalization. And one of the things, if we are lucky enough to get that grant, and I think we have a very good shot at it this year, is to do a similar thing for the waterfront. I think that the at least the early success in the committee we have as far as picking a talented, diverse team of folks with competing equities to work together will be the way we'll proceed with what we do down at the waterfront as well. I think this Bill put together this template for this team, and I think it's something we'll follow going forward. So thank you for that, Bill. All right, next item is the Village of Cornwall and Hudson welcome sign. I'm sorry, what am I miss? Okay. Yep. What I need, so I need to mention that?
Just that we're tabled.
Can I say why? Should I say why? Sure. Okay, so, on your agenda, you'll see Water Department promotions. We were scheduled to do that tonight. We are not gonna do that. We have 2 members of the board who are out tonight. There's only 3 of us. And we would need to, on this vote, since I would have to recuse, since it involves flesh and blood, we would not have a majority to do that. So we're gonna table that, and we will do that at the September 13th work session here for the board. So the first regularly scheduled work session coming into the fall. Thank you, Gene. Next item, the Village of Cornwall and Hudson welcome sign. I'm sure you're familiar with the beautiful sign that is just shy of where Rings Pond is, which kind of is the line of demarcation between the town and the village. It's a hand-carved sign from an artist in Sugarloaf who I've spoken to about possibly doing a carving on the back side of the sign instead of having to get another sign. So instead of just staring at that brown back as you leave the village and the beautiful sign as you come in, the consensus from the board seems to be taking this, the village logo, the seal with the gazebo on it and the Hudson behind it for the back side. The front side is a scene of the mountains and obviously the Hudson River and a ship, and it says, Cornwall and Hudson. The backside would say, thanks for visiting. And would have some type of rendering of this in a same hand-carved style on the backside of that. So we just have to get a sketch, and we have to get a estimate from him, and then when that happens, we will try to pick a time where it won't sit there for a long time while he's working on it, so we take it down, and it won't be a naked, open space for a really long period of time till we get it back. Okay, we had 1 application for on-premises alcoholic beverage license. I am in receipt of a 30-day advance notice form indicating that the Storm King Lounge and Fair Incorporated has submitted a new application for an on-premises alcoholic beverage license. Nothing for the board to do. It's only if we have any issues or concerns or pushback on it. Otherwise, it's, in all likelihood, they're going to get the liquor license. Okay, summer playground update. Summer playground ended on August 13th. The program, from everything I heard from parents to campers, and of course I'm a little partial since my daughter was the camp director, but they did an outstanding job of working together through some tough times. The town camp concluded as well. I don't know if Hudson Highland Nature Museum is still running theirs, but our program had about 125 130 campers signed up. We averaged between 90 and 95 a day. Obviously, with people going on vacations and pulling their kids for that, 90, 95 a day is a pretty good number. And I think the crew did a great job in handling that. So proud of them. Anything to add on summer playground, Bill, Dave?
Well,
Yep. Bill?
No?
Okay. All right, moving forward. The water system master plan. So when I entered office here, I asked the water superintendent and our engineers to take a look at our infrastructure because we were in the process of repairing or getting set to repair some old pipes and old mains that are in the town, because the village obviously handles water for the village and the town. And just coming up with some type of plan so that if we have pipes that were put in the 50s and they're clearly not to code anymore and they're failing and we're constantly replacing them, let's put together a master plan infrastructure-wise so that we know in order, a chronological order of what we need to do in replacements. And since the village is in a good fiscal position right now, we have money coming in. We've already received money, obviously, for infrastructure from the American Rescue Act, which has been deposited in village coffers. We're just looking at what it would take and to put a plan like this in place. So we are still looking at it, reviewing it. Obviously, the board has a decision to make on whether or not we're going to go full tilt with this and have this, essentially, it's a comprehensive plan put together by our engineers. So that is still being worked on. Mike, did I miss anything on that? Okay. Request to place bench at Donahue Memorial Park. Ms. Virginia Borgasian has graciously offered to donate a bench at Donahue Memorial Park. She has worked, as the board required, with the DPW superintendent and the Riverfront Committee to select a bench and a location where it will be placed. The DPW employees will install the bench upon our receipt of it. This will be the last gifted item that the board is going to allow to be placed somewhere, whether it's at Donahue Memorial Park or somewhere else on village property, until the board has come up with a plan going forward for how we're going to handle this in the future. We can't have 50 benches down there, but of course, we appreciate people donating something like that, especially for a loved one, a departed loved one. Same thing with trees. So we're going to come up with a plan going forward on how we're going to accept, what we're going to accept, where they're going to be able to be located and things like that. But this one did get approved prior to that. HVAC replacement, I'm sure Chief Dixon is ecstatic that the miserable, weeks of 90-degree heat, HVAC, which provides the air conditioning for the police department, which is on the backside, obviously, of Village Hall. Theirs went out, and it was replaced successfully on August 3rd by West Star Tech Services Corp. Chief, how many weeks were you using the window unit in there and trying to get by?
About 3 or 4 weeks, but I just
It's
want to
just,
thank.
it's just July and August, not really
Yeah,
hot months.
I personally want to thank the village board for responding so quickly and swiftly to get it rectified, especially with the weather we've been having lately. We got it back to snowing in there, so it's good.
I gotta come spend more time back there then. All right. I'd also like to thank the representatives from Royal Class Plumbing for loaning a window air conditioning unit to the police department until the replacement could be completed. So we returned that to them, right?
Yeah, I took it back to them last week.
Excellent. All right. Okay, the next one hopefully doesn't bring too much of a smile to people's faces. Goose droppings at Donahue Memorial Park. So just like the town encountered a couple years ago at Rings Pond, I have gotten a number of complaints from people trying to enjoy the park, and we have an invasive species of Canadian geese that is part of Mother Nature that likes to evacuate down there, and the scat is scattered all across the lawn there. You literally cannot take a step without stepping into goose fecal matter. I'm trying to think of all the different ways to describe it.
Doing great so far.
I did, I know. I just don't know if I don't know if I have any other synonyms. I'm running out. But regardless, one of the things we're going to look at doing is the United States Department of Agriculture, their Division of Wildlife Services. Dave, I got the card and the contact from you. They do have a program where they actually come out and they net the geese. How is that done? Well, there's a 6-week period in the summer when the geese are molting and they are incapable of flying. They become like dodo birds. They cannot fly. And they come out and humanely net them, and then they're either A, relocated, or B, harvested as food for food banks. So I don't know if anybody could have an issue with either one of those things to eradicate the problem down there, but it's something that we are looking into. There's other options as far as shiny like disco balls that apparently they don't end up landing if they see it. And there's another one that's like this really high-pitched sound. So I don't know what direction we're gonna go to. I just know it's not gonna be immediate. Well, I know it's not gonna be immediate, but in the interim, the DPW has offered and has done a great job of at least cleaning that sidewalk to the gazebo where a number of people in the morning like to walk to do their yoga and their stretching, their meditation. And it was pretty battle scarred. So they're cleaning that once a week when they're down there doing their mowing and their weed whacking. All right. So that's that. Moving on to, for your information, on August 7th, we had the dual fair of music and movies on the Hudson. I think Superman was played, and I know that that was well attended and people enjoyed that. The committee, which still remains, because both of them, there's nobody to take their place, and they do a great job. But Mike Trainer and Dominic Cordisco do an excellent job with the movies on the Hudson. And if you've ever been down there to see it, you know the amount of work, the logistical work that goes into it. It's not just putting a pop-up tent up or, pulling out one of your old family screens to watch family movies on. It is an undertaking, and they do an amazing job of setup and breakdown and making it an enjoyable event. Movies on the Hudson. The next one, Mike, is this the last one, which is August 21st?
No, we actually have 3 more movies. August 21st is the movie Yesterday, with a pre-movie concert by The Joy is doing a Beatles tribute. The movie Yesterday is about the Beatles. September 18th will be The People's Choice. We'll have a vote on Facebook to decide what that movie title will be. And then I believe it's October 16th is the final movie. It's a Halloween themed. It's Poltergeist.
All right.
And your favorite band is playing on September 4th.
Down at the gazebo.
Yes.
Well, that's a wonderful segue, because my favorite band is actually playing tomorrow night at the bandstand. So Hurley Mountain Highway will be playing between 6:30 and 8 o'clock. So if you like 70s and 80s music and nothing but cover songs, they don't play any of their own stuff. And I like cover bands, they'll be playing down there. So I think now we just crossed, having had 9, I think we have 9 more bands at the bandstand this year. They've done a great job. We had a reschedule last week on Thursday from a rain out in July, but we've been really, really lucky thus far, knock on wood, with weather. So if you get a chance Tuesday nights, you want to come listen to some great free music, the bandstand is a place to be. Okay, next item, the San Miguel program, which is a school, an all-boys school in the city of Newburgh, is going to hold a press conference at Donahue Memorial Park on September 17th from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. I will be there. Encourage anybody that wants to attend. San Miguel Academy is partnered with the Orange County Rowing Association, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful organization, and they just received some grant for the work that they're doing, and they asked if they could come conduct the press conference down at Donahue Memorial Park. So if you're available to be there for that, that would be really nice. And that is all I have. So we'll move right on to public comment. And does anybody else, doesn't look like many people are left, but does anybody else have anything they want to add in the public comment section? Yes, Mr. Coyne.
Just a couple of things that have already been mentioned on the agenda. First of all, I too would like to thank Dave and the Public Works Department. It's amazing how excited people get when their street is repaved. Paula Court was one of them. I asked them to put it off until a good time for me to accept any kind of criticism. But what I've seen is just an explosion of activity on Paula Court and Homeland and everywhere else he's done, with skaters, inline skaters, cyclists, skateboarders, and they're all enjoying it. So you did a great job. I know you did a lot of prep, and we appreciate it. In regard to the gazebo, I'm so glad that you're correcting it, so to speak. I bought the weather vane of the sailboat, and I'm glad that it's going to be included in the future renditions of the logo. And finally, Donahue Farm, Bill did a great job. It was a little bit like herding cats, you know that phrase, with we heard from so many people about their backgrounds, and it went on and on and on. And but I'm sure that future meetings will be a little bit more focused in terms of what we're going to do, instead of just saying I've done this and I've done that. But Bill, you did a good job. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Anybody else in public comment? All right, then I'm going to make a motion to close the public comment section of the meeting. May I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All right, with that, I will go to each of the board members for their own personal comments, and I will start with trustee Brain.
Thank you. A couple of things. The way this works for me is we go through the agenda and I forget to say things during the parts when I should have said them, so I'm going to jump back on a couple of those. I had the pleasure of introducing the band Acoustic Companion at the bandstand on Thursday, the rain date that the mayor mentioned from July. I was there for several of their numbers, and they were terrific. And I believe what seems to happen is we start at 6:30, and the crowd files in as you get closer to 7, and they start to get a little more crowded. So that looked pretty good when I headed home. Just to add to the Donahue Farm, there's a couple of things happening. One thing was that I should have called out Taylor Owlette. Came from the Hudson Highlands Nature Museum. She's one of the naturalists and ecological instructors there. And we asked her to come and show us around the environment there and explain what the habitats are and how they benefit from the current situation, and what we would, if we wanted to displace anything, what we would have to do to make sure that we're not adversely impacting wildlife and the ecosystem. So she came and did that on her own hook. It was very nice for her to come down after work and do that. Scenic Hudson, who manages the conservation easement on the property, they're going to be doing some driveway improvements in the fall or in the next couple of months, but they are more immediately starting to do a drainage correction program. There's the field just to the north, which is to the right of the driveway as you're coming in, floods during periods of heavy rain, and they're interested in channeling that water. So they're actually going to come in starting tomorrow. They're going to do some, what we are told is minor tree removal to be able to make sure that the berm that where the water comes is appropriate to keep the water out of the field. So I'm gonna see if I can make it down there tomorrow to understand exactly what the scope of that is. We want to make sure that anything that's unsightly, the expectation is that Scenic Hudson, being a conservation organization, they're not going to overdo it on the tree removal, and we're going to be on top of it to make sure that it doesn't destroy any of our natural beauty. And then. So yeah, that starts, the tree removal happens tomorrow and starts tomorrow. And then the following week is when they're going to actually do the drainage work. And then one other thing came to my attention. The fire chief informed us, just making sure I'm not missing any of what I've got written down here. The fire chief informed us that one of the firefighters, Pat Donovan, has been out in Oregon fighting wildfires. I'm sure there's more to come on that, but I'll just say that is a tremendous piece of work on his part, and I'm sure we're all appreciative, and it's really good to know that Cornwall on Hudson is sending its best people out to do greater good in the greater world. So I'm glad to hear about that and hope he's staying safe. And I would also ask if it's possible or necessary, first necessary, then possible, if any kind of supplies for those firefighters, and whether that's, just homey things, cookies, whatever it might be, if that's something that they would want, and if it's possible to do that, I would be happy to help out with that and marshal a bunch of people together. And that, I think, is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mike, you'll let us know when he's back, right? Because I think it'd be appropriate, to Bill's point, that we do some type of recognition for him here in front of the board once he gets back. So, Trustee Carnwright.
Just kudos to the crew at the summer playground. I was able to get down a couple times, and it went well, as the town also did. It helps a lot of kids get out of the house, so it's a great program. It's been around for a long time. And also, thank you to Mr. Michelle for putting his hat in the circle of community service. We're always looking for good people. And that's it for me.
All right, thank you. Well, I can certainly echo everything that the two trustees said, as well as I'd like to throw a shout out to Kovac and to New Windsor Ambulance. I actually had an incident on my street the other night when I got home where one of my elderly neighbors, who was 83 years old and who likes to walk his dog, the dog's leash got tangled around his leg. He got his hand caught in his cane and he fell face first without being able to break his fall onto the pavement, split his head open, eye completely swollen shut. A couple of neighbors I saw scrambling down there. I went down. I ended up calling 911 and appreciated the response and what they did for him and for his family too. So to see that on my block, it was impressive. As well as Officer DeWicko, to bring his name up again, was on duty that night and was actually the first one to respond. So Chief, give him kudos as well. Again, talked about Dave's guys in the paving. They did an excellent job. I think that is it. The only thing that I will remind you before I close the meeting is that when the meeting's closed, it doesn't necessarily stop the mics until we cut them off. So if you're milling about, keep in mind that whatever your thoughts are, good, bad, or indifferent, will be picked up. Yes, sir.
You're not going to close the meeting. You're going to make a motion to go into executive session.
I'm going to
The
change
meeting's
that.
going to stay open because you'll probably be taking action in executive session.
Understood. So I'm going to make a motion then to go into executive session with the board. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Okay. I just want to make sure we're in the same sheet.
Bye, Steve.
Gary, take care. Steve, be good. Dave, be good. Hey, Gary, don't forget to get with her to do your swearing in.
Bring a Bible.
That's right. And a mask. And a mask.
I hope Kane and Gaylord are viewing the session.
Well,
if they're on the YouTube?
They were both gonna try to call